Guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love college football as much as I do. Since college football has pretty much, well, I'm not going to say it's pretty much back, but we're now really starting to come out with these ridiculous preseason polls, top coaches, and all this other stuff that we're talking about. So I feel it's safe to start talking about some certain games that are coming, especially early in the year. I wanted to talk about Miami taking on Notre Dame. It's a rivalry game, actually. Catholics versus the convicts. Um, both teams were pretty successful last year. Now, I know Miami was not as successful as Notre Dame, but given the recent history of Miami, where they've kind of been the laughingstock of college football, um, winning 10 games for Miami is really big. You know, before that they were a 7-win team. Before that they were a 5-win team. So the list goes on. I mean, with things that they've been through. I do think Mario Cristobal is establishing a really good program with Miami. And I like the move that he went out and got Carson Beck from Georgia out the portal. But I don't think they're beating Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame bringing back a lot of talent that they had last year. The receiving game, most notably Jaden Greathouse, with how he played at the end of the year last year. I don't really care who plays quarterback. It'll probably be C.J. Carr. You know Notre Dame's going to run the football very well. They're a really run-heavy offense. Their offense plays a lot like Michigan when Michigan's a really good team. They run the football really well, really good offensive line play, hard-nosed defense, lines of scrimmage. Speaking of defense, Notre Dame's bringing back a lot of defensive starters. Notre Dame had a really good year last year, you know, and I think they're in a better spot right now than Miami is. And I know they lost Riley Leonard, but, and again, not that Riley Leonard's very replaceable or not very good or anything, but I feel really good about Notre Dame, the rest of their team. And one thing I've noticed about what Marcus Freeman has done, he's always had some pretty good quarterback play with whoever played quarterback for the last few years with him as Notre Dame's head coach. So I do think that the quarterback play, regardless of who plays, will still continue to play very well. And again, Notre Dame's just the way they play. And I remember how they played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl this past year. They won the line of scrimmage, and again, I think Georgia had the better team still, but Notre Dame played better. They were tougher up front. They took care of the football. Their defense played lights out. Georgia's offensive line, which has struggled a lot last year, could not protect Gunnar Stockton. Now, granted, I think Miami's offensive line will be pretty good this year, but for Miami to be successful, that defense has got to show me something. It showed me nothing last year. And I know they fired their defensive coordinator from last year and they brought in somebody else. And I do think Miami's defense will be improved. How much improved is the question. I don't think it'll be enough in week one. Give me Notre Dame to win this game. I think Notre Dame with Price, with Love, with whoever plays running back, they got both of those guys. They got a really good receiving core, probably the best receiving core they've had in years. Again, the defense is always good for Notre Dame. It's really good up front. They're tough. And here's the thing. Notre Dame's defense last year was pretty thin in the playoffs. They had a lot of guys get hurt. And they played really well. And the defense is what brought them back in that game against Ohio State, even though they lost. So I only expect that defense to continue to improve. And it was a young defense that played in the playoffs for the most part. Now that defense is coming back. So give me Notre Dame. I think they're more physical. Here's my other concern for Miami. I know Carson Beck's a really good player, but anytime he played a good defense, he did play against Florida's defense last year, which was getting better as the season got along. So I think Florida's defense was pretty good. But he had a hard time against any defense that brought pressure in his face, that played good coverage against him. He was a turnover machine last year. And I'm not going to say that it's not going to stop, but it's hard for me to think that he's about to bust out and have a Heisman winning season. And again, Miami has good receivers every year. But again, his decision making was not very good last year. Even the year before that, when he played against Bama's defense or even Auburn's defense, he had a hard time getting the ball out, you know, and making big plays with his arm. So with that in mind, I do expect Carson Beck to play pretty well, but he's going to cost his team the game with a pick here or there. I don't think Miami's offensive line is going to block very well against Notre Dame's defensive front, especially if they send linebacker blitzes a lot. So give me the Irish to pull out a lower scoring game. I would not be shocked if this game looked like the Texas A&M game a year ago. Low scoring, very close, and then Notre Dame manages to pull away. Give me, and again, Notre Dame has played in tough games last year at Texas A&M, a season opener. That was tough. They played Georgia as an underdog in that game. That was tough. Played Penn State while trailing at some point. That was tough. That team's been battle tested, and I think a team that could win the national championship this year could. I'm not saying will, but they could. So give me Notre Dame. Again, Miami's a pretty good team. I think they'll have a good year, but they're not beating Notre Dame.